The story of Murdoch's $5 billion acquisition is chronicled in a new book, War at the Wall Street Journal, Inside the Struggle to Control an American Business Empire, by author Sarah Ellison. Sarah offers an insider's account of Murdoch's takeover. She spent a decade at the Journal as a media reporter, and she was there when Murdoch took the helm. Sarah is with us right here. Sarah, a lot of people might call this ancient history, possibly sour grapes. It happened 3 years ago. Why is the story still relevant today?
Well, of course, what we're seeing with Murdoch's deal is that it's only now becoming relevant in terms of what he's doing with the Journal. So just a week or two ago, he launched a New York section to go after the New York Times. And that's been one of the biggest moves that he's made in terms of the future strategy of the paper and the whole Wall Street Journal franchise. And you'll see in about a month, he's also going to announce a web sort of storefront that they're going to do for all of their online publications at News Corporation, which is going to be very interesting. So and that's all led by the Wall Street Journal acquisition. So in some ways, the acquisition was just the beginning of the story, and it's enormously relevant today for all of us.
Tell us, in that vein, what did you learn about Rupert Murdoch as a person, as a proprietor, that News Corp shareholders need to know?
Well, you have to give Murdoch credit for having scouted out and coveted the Wall Street Journal for 20 years. He figured out all of the divisions in the Bancroft family, which was a family that owned the paper before. He determined which cousin didn't like which cousin, and he did all sorts of great secret spy negotiation sort of things that were in my book. And then he paid more money than God and got the company and got the paper. Of course, his shareholders at the time were sort of aghast at that because he paid $5 billion for an asset that he then wrote down $3 billion of very shortly after. So from a shareholder perspective, that sort of is a failure for a pretty long time. You can't really make up for that. But what is amazing about him is that he does have a vision, and you do have to be able to sort of admire the fact that he had the willpower and the determination to go in there, get the acquisition that he wanted, and then completely transform the paper. I mean, there is no one left there that he doesn't, well, we'll see, but I mean, I think that he doesn't approve of. And sometimes you hear about acquisitions and it takes a little while to change the culture, it takes a little while to get things where we want to go. Murdoch came in and absolutely cleaned house in exactly the way that he wanted, so you have to give him credit for that.
You'd have to say Rupert Murdoch is looking for ways to extract more value out of the Journal brand, but as you just pointed out, he wrote down the acquisition by some $3 billion. You know, in one person's analysis, mine, Rupert Murdoch turned the Bancrofts, one of the most dysfunctional absentee landlord families around, into the smart money at the table, and he became the dumb money. How on earth did that happen?
It's one of the great ironies of this whole story, which is that while it was happening and while we were reporting on it for the Wall Street Journal, everybody thought, oh, this poor family, they're getting completely outmanned and outgunned. And when you read the way that he does it, it does seem that way. And yet, they walked away, the winners here, because they walked away with $5 billion in cash. The timing was incredible.
Exquisite, really.
It was exquisite, and it happened right before the financial crisis. So a lot of their money was still in cash when the market was tanking. And so it couldn't have been more perfect from their perspective. So you're right. Seeing Rupert Murdoch as the dumb money in this equation is a little bit of putting things on its head, but that's exactly how it worked out.
Sarah, you worked at the Wall Street Journal for 10 years. We can see the changes that you spoke of every day. There's politics on the front page, never used to be there, always used to be buried on A2 or A3, the economy, etc. The leaders are gone, the A-heads are gone. Tell us, though, what it's like from the people you know who are still inside the Journal, who presumably have met Rupert Murdoch's approval. What is it like to work there? How much of a changed place is it really?
Well, I think that, I mean, it's completely transformed for the people who work there. For a little while, no one really knew exactly what they were supposed to be doing because everyone had been marching in one direction for a little while, and then all of a sudden they were told to be marching in a different direction. What's interesting is that, and what people who are still there sort of want to maintain about the Journal, is that they always saw themselves as sort of watchdogs for capitalism, which is ever more important given everything that we've just been through with the financial crisis and everything that's going on at the investment banks. And the more that the Journal moves away from those things, the more people are concerned that they're giving up on that sort of core not just mission, but also branding of the company and branding of the paper. And I think that, you know, that's something they're worried about.
Well, it's something that democracy might be worried about too, and capital markets. That is Sarah Ellison, author of War at the Wall Street Journal.